Hi, everyone. My name is Rob Higurita, and I'm a Principal Technical Account Manager at AWS, and I'm based out of Austin, Texas. Welcome to AWS Supports You, where AWS support experts provide tips to optimize performance in the cloud, lower costs, and provide you with best practices and design considerations. And joining me today, we have Ram and Aiden from AWS Support. Can you give us a quick introduction, Ram, and then Aiden?
Sure, Rob. Hi, I'm Rob, and I'm a senior technical account manager out of the Bay Area. I'm also a management and governance SME focused on AWS Control Tower. Lots of disciplines are intertwined with security, but I love the management and governance aspect of managing cloud infrastructure. With all of the chaos of the world, it's great to have your infrastructure well ordered and understood.
Hi, I'm Aiden, and I'm an enterprise support lead also out of the Bay Area. A lot of our customers ask for our help on designing and managing multi-account environments, and customers don't want to pick between agility or governance. So, today we help a lot of customers achieve both with AWS Control Tower and integrating it with DevOps practices. So, happy to share more on this topic.
Great. Thanks both for the introduction. And so today we are going to be talking and introducing everyone to AWS Control Tower. And we'll be specifically focusing on deploying customization frameworks to integrate into Control Tower to your existing DevOps and CI/CD pipelines. Of course, before we get into the details today, a quick note to all the attendees online. Please feel free to use that chat window on the right-hand side of your screen to let us know where you're joining us from today and share your thoughts and questions throughout the episode. We really do look forward to hearing from you all, and we'll also be providing you a link to a survey so you can let us know how we did today. Please click that link and leave your feedback, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Ram, to get us started on talking about Control Tower today.
Great. Thanks, Rob. So today we're going to review the AWS Control Tower value proposition. And we're also going to review the architecture of our customization solution, which many of our customers use to integrate Control Tower into their existing DevOps CI and CD pipelines. Finally, we'll have a demo of the solution and show how to customize your Control Tower environment by deploying some custom guardrails and IAM roles to your accounts. Ida, do you want to take us through the key features and benefits here?
Totally. So first and foremost, right, is an automated landing zone that Control Tower gives us. Like, what is an automated landing zone? It's a well-architected, multi-account AWS environment that's scalable and secure. And Control Tower builds this out for you in just 1 hour, as opposed to like many weeks to months building an equivalent landing zone yourself with 10 plus underlying services, and not to mention the continuous upgrades and enhancements that Control Tower receives that you can benefit from. Next, you mentioned this guardrails. Like these guardrails are predefined rules to help with compliance, right? Preventative and detective guardrails that we'll drill into. And you get all these best practice guardrails as well. Further, you have the account factory that helps you create new accounts or enroll existing accounts into Control Tower for those government's benefits. And you also have a centralized dashboard across all of your accounts for compliance, visibility, and for actions needed to take. And that's also across regions. Top right here, you've got built-in identity and access management. This means you've built-in integration with AWS single sign-on, so you can get customers can get a centralized location for all identity and access management. So that is a big help as well. You have built-in log and audit access to all of your accounts, so centralized log and audit access. And built-in monitoring notifications also keeps you well governed and compliant with your goals here. Last but not least, third parties can really help you extend your capabilities here. And there's a huge ecosystem that you can integrate with, like Splunk, for example, for logging, or Datadog monitoring. They've got white papers and really easy integrations with Control Tower. PagerDuty, Ping, Okta, etc. There's a bunch, and it's all available. These ones are available through the AWS Marketplace. So lots of benefits, lots of features to looking into Control Tower and deploying with Control Tower. Yeah. So Ram, over to you.
Thanks, Ed. So let's take a look at how AWS Control Tower works under the covers. So it starts off, again, as Aiden mentioned, with the landing zone, which is a well-architected multi-account AWS environment based on security and compliance best practices. Um, sorry. Um, we also have centralized identity and access management using AWS SSO. With this in place, you actually have one user credential, and depending on your level of permissions, you can access all of your different accounts with different levels of permissions. Using one user credential, which makes it much easier as you continue to scale in the number of accounts that you have. We also have sorry, excuse me. We also have we have established guardrails for compliance and operations. They're either preventative or detective guardrails based on service control policies or AWS config rules. And we also have automated account provisioning via Service Catalog's Account Factory, which uses a service catalog to vend the new AWS account. And all of these are managed continuously over time, given your current account landscape as well as new accounts that you add over time are managed continuously. So now let's take a look at what's actually deployed once you install AWS Control Tower in your environment. AWS Control Tower is installed in your management account, which is the first account in your organization. It launches AWS organizations and also instantiates AWS single sign-on and also integrates with AWS Service Catalog. We also create 2 OUs, organizational units, within AWS organizations. And in the security OU, we deploy 2 accounts, a log archive account and an audit account. The log archive account is used for CloudTrail log consolidation, and the audit account is used for managing AWS config rules across your entire infrastructure. And we also create the other OU that's created is our sandbox OU, which is there to host new accounts that you create for your workloads. Aiden, you want to take us through some of these services that are integrated with Control Tower, please?
For sure, Ram. So let's touch on AWS single sign-on. This is a really key underlying service here that centralizes identity and access. First and foremost, you're given a default directory for identity when Control Tower deploys AWS single sign-on for you. And this is what allows you to federate access and management across all of your different accounts in your organization. Functionally, this means your users can have a portal where they can go and see all the accounts that they're permitted to access and the applications they're permitted to access. So this can be like, pre-configured groups in, an administrator can have admin access, auditors can have read-only access, etc. And this is also closely coupled with service catalog. So end users can go and actually see what applications you're giving them. So, lastly here, you can integrate with third-party identity providers as well, like Active Directory, Ping, Okta, that is the basic gist here. SSO is a very important part that really helps the ease of use with multiple different users and on a large organization. So let me pause here for any questions. Yeah.
Hey, thanks so far for the introduction here on Control Tower and a little bit on SSO. We did have a question that just came in from JibJab06 in the audience. JibJab06 wants to know, can I still use my existing SSO provider with Control Tower?
Hey, Rob, I'm happy to take this one. This is absolutely. So by using Control Tower and AWS SSO, it doesn't preclude you from using any existing configurations or identity providers that you've already configured in your environment. So it's not like you're taking away something from your environment. You're actually using any AWS account can have multiple federation identities for the account. So this doesn't actually mean by using AWS SSO, it's not an either or. You can have both working at the same time in your account.
Great. All right. Thanks for that answer. And I'll let you continue on through the rest of the content you have here today. Thanks. And audience, please make sure to post your questions.
Great.
Okay. Let me jump into something we mentioned before around account factory. So actually automating, provisioning of your accounts is done within Control Tower. So Control Tower's built-in account factory features lets admins and end users alike provision new governed accounts. And it does this through AWS Service Catalog integration under the hood, right in the middle here. So in this example, right, you can specify basic default parameters like which org's organizational unit, OU, which network settings, baselines, right? That's a big time saver, and the account name and email, right, that you need just to kick this off. At the end of this, your new AWS account is integrated into your SSO, your single sign-on portal, and for your new AWS governed accounts. And that's all protected on the top right here. You see the guardrails. It's all protected by your guardrails. So it's really that straightforward and simple. And in this example, the administrator here or the end user deployed a new account with network baseline and account baseline settings. So huge time saver here in provisioning new accounts. And yeah, over to you, Ram. Let's talk about the customer journey here.
Sure. So normally what we find with a lot of our customers as they continue to grow and use AWS is they end up having a need for more and more accounts for different workloads, for different departments owned by different users with different levels of privileges, right? So off to the left here, you basically see the base Control Tower environment. You see your management account. You see all the different services that are integrated with Control Tower. And then off to the right, you have all of these different OUs from development, workloads, policy staging, suspended, et cetera. These are OUs that are created in AWS organizations. And this is AWS's multi-account, recommended best practices strategy, which is basically to have different OUs owned by different levels of users. The idea here is that we use service control policies to enforce the security differentiation between accounts in these OUs. Service control policies are applied at an OU level, and they cascade and are inherited by the accounts and other linked child OUs within the OU. So while we do support nesting, we also want to make sure you understand that there is an inheritance with service control policies, and we should treat OUs as security boundaries between organizations for very specific reasons, right? So in this case, you might have a dev OU with accounts there that developers use, and they may have elevated privileges in those accounts. You might have another one for production where devs may only have read access, but not necessarily admin level access anywhere in the account. A good one is also suspended, which are accounts that you're planning to actually delete. You might have an accounts for security and account compromises where the service control policy basically says, shut everything off. You're not allowed to do anything in this account. And from there, you can actually do some more kind of investigative work into what happened in that account. So these are really powerful constructs, the OUs and service control policies, and they allow you to actually enforce behavior within that OU definitively. Do we have any questions from the audience at this time? I want to take a pause here and see if there was any questions from anyone.
Hey, Ron, we do have a couple questions that just came in. I'm just going to get a little clarification on those ones. I did have a question myself, though, before I'll come back next break and grab a couple of these audience questions. Sure. When we're talking about this multi-account strategy, like if I'm just getting into starting to use AWS and I have, 3 or 4 accounts, should I be looking at, setting up Control Tower?
Absolutely. I mean, there's really, very, very minimal cost from a brand new vanilla environment for deploying AWS Control Tower. But deploying it early on in your environment, you're going to actually enforce a high level of rigor and discipline in your managed account strategies, right? So you're not going to have a lot of issues later by actually doing enforcement now and thinking through the levels of security privileges that your users and your end users need as they interact with those AWS accounts. So it's actually very acceptable for workloads in companies of all stages.
Great. All right. Thanks. I'll let you continue on, and I'm going to have a few questions for you again in a minute. So thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Aiden, do you want to take us through how guardrails work?
Totally, Ram. So guardrails are pre-configured governance rules for security, compliance, operations, right? They're expressed in plain English to provide an abstraction over granular AWS policies like IAM policies, right? And there's two types of guardrails. There's preventative guardrails, and these prevent any policy violations through enforcement. These are done through AWS CloudFormation and SCPs in this example here. So SCPs, these really make sure that the control tower environment remains intact, and they're attached at the OU level, right? They're always compliant. They keep control tower functional, and they're always compliant. You cannot destroy the control tower environment via modifications. So the other type of guardrails you have here are detective guardrails, and these detect policy violations and alert in the control tower dashboard. And this is through config rules. So that's the major difference between detective and preventative. It's either SCP or config rules. And when you enable these on your OUs, the accounts on the OUs, the outputs can be compliant or not compliant, right? And we have a whole list of, we have loads of guardrails that you can choose from or even create your own, from mandatory to strongly recommended to prescriptive, etc. So that's a little bit about guardrails here. Let me jump into actual examples so you see what I'm talking about here. So let's jump to the next slide here, Ram. So example guardrails for, for example, enable multi-factor authentication for the root user. So this is like heightened authentication, right? And this is a type of detective guardrail. It's strongly recommended. We strongly recommend this one. So another call out is all these mandatory ones. These are the mandatory SCP based ones that actually prevent the control tower environment from being tampered with, right? It ensures the integrity of the control tower environment. And lastly, there are loads of elective guardrails that need to be matched to your specific business needs, like data residency, right? Which would be, we just launched a bunch of at the last reInvent, a lot of different data residency guardrails, like which region requested, which region made the AWS the API call, right? So there's tens and tens of guardrails that you can choose from here. So let me pause here and see if we have any questions we can address.
Hey, yep. So did have a couple questions that came in that I mentioned before. So one came in from Ray_DB222. Welcome back, Ray. What's the difference between this and Security Hub? So just a question about, what's the difference between Control Tower and Security Hub? And then a follow-up, is there a benefit or best use case for using both? I'm also happy to chime in on this one too, since.
Yeah, so there are some key differences between these services. Security Hub is used to provide a comprehensive view of high priority security alerts and compliance status across all of your accounts. Well, AWS Control Tower is a managed service that automates the creation of well-architected, your multi-account landing zone. It simplifies those provisioning with using AWS organizations with CloudTrail and Config and these guardrails. Security Hub allows you to actually go much, much deeper. And it's not necessarily a replacement, right? So what you would think about doing when you launch your AWS Control Tower environment is actually launching Security Hub as well, right? There's other security services that you would run in addition to Control Tower, from Security Hub, Guard Duty, and services like that, right? So this is basically what Control Tower is it's a framework for managing all of this at scale, right? And being able to think through like, what are my account needs? What are my security needs across my organization, and how are they differentiated by groups of accounts, right? And using that multi-account organization strategy that we talked about earlier.
Great. Yeah, it kind of fits into two different models, right? One's kind of our preventative, which we use with Control Tower, and security kind of, goes in that detect and response type area as well. So definitely use them both together. Be helpful for you. So, and one other question that came in as well. This one I'm going to paraphrase a little bit from, came in from Mohammed Bonavilla. Sorry if I mispronounced that. They wanted to know kind of what the key differences are between Control Tower and AWS organizations, and if there's a cost difference between kind of, adopting Control Tower over using AWS organizations.
Right. So organizations is actually a fundamental component of Control Tower. Control Tower is actually built on top of other discrete and independent AWS services, organizations, AWS SSO, single sign-on, service catalog, and others, right? So what Control Tower does is actually automate the usage of all these services together as a managed service, and allows you to actually deploy this this landing zone very quickly and easily, right? So what's happening here is organizations is a fundamental building block of what Control Tower is. Does that answer your
question?
I
think that does. You're right. We're basically going to use the same kind of service control policies, right, that we use in organizations for enforcing our actual controls and guardrails, right, within Control Tower itself, since it's kind of built on top of it. So great. All right. Well, thank you, audience, for the questions. Please keep them coming, and I'll turn it back over to y'all to continue going through things.
Great. So now what we're going to do is take a look at what the Control Tower lifecycle events. So what lifecycle events are is an event that marks the completion of certain AWS Control Tower actions. And off to the right, you can actually see all of these events here. There's 8 of them, from creating a managed account, updating a managed account, and that whole list there. And why this is powerful is it actually marks when Control Tower is actually done as a managed service, has completed, say, a new account creation. And using an Amazon Event Bridge integration, we can actually build solutions on top of this, right? We can actually say, well, Control Tower as a platform got me so far in terms of my management and governance, right? But I, as my organization, have additional requirements that I need now to deploy, or instrument automation for bringing this account up to where I can turn it over to this, my department to do, I don't know, genetic sequencing or something like that, or they're using AI/ML and they want to use Amazon AWS SageMaker, right? And so we can actually get those services provisioned based on, this new account has been created, and these are the roles that might be needed in that account, and all of this can be integrated with your CI/CD pipeline. So, and again, as we're calling out here, we also support Terraform now. We recently released Account Factory for Terraform. So you can, if you're a Terraform shop, you can actually integrate a lot of the Terraform customizations by using Control Tower as well. So you have a deep bridge there between these two services. And so let's take a look at how these lifecycle events actually work, right? So in this case, we're actually launching an account with Service Catalog, the Account Factory, and this new account is being created, and we're triggering this Amazon CloudWatch rule, which is an event bridge, basically. And in this case, triggering a Lambda and a CloudFormation stack set, right? So now the net result is, well, prior to integrating with the lifecycle event, you would have just had a new account with some basic customizations. Now you can actually go much deeper. And again, going back to the prior question, now you can launch Security Hub, you can launch Guard Duty in that account, and really get that account where you want it to be from a security perspective, right? You're no longer like having to spend weeks or again days or weeks doing customization one by one. You can actually integrate it into your pipeline. So if a new department requests a new account, you can go through all, basically get everything set up, click the button, and go out and grab some coffee for a while, and when you come back, everything's ready for you. So now let's take a look at the actual customization solution for AWS Control Tower. So this is the solution that we're going to deploy in our demo here shortly. And here you can basically see your control tower, your event bridge, and it's integrated with an SQS queue, an AWS Lambda event handler. We're going to be in our example today, in our demo today, we're going to be using code commit as our commit package. And that's going to integrate with code pipeline and code build and step functions to deploy either SCPs via organizations or CloudFormation stack sets for an AWS config rule, and also the IAM role that we're going to create. So I think we're ready for the demo now, but I wanted to pause really quickly here, Rob, and see if there's any other questions that we should answer before we get into the demo.
Hey, thanks. No, I think we'll hop into the demo right now. No questions from the audience. So audience, please make sure to use that chat box down on the right-hand side if you have questions during the demo or after.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Here's the demo. I'm going to before I hit play here, actually, let me pause it right now. This is actually the first look that you would have when you launch AWS Control Tower. This is actually the AWS single sign-on panel. Or your portal for single sign-on. And here you can actually see that I have these different accounts, my audit account, my log archive account, this is my management account, and this is a child account that I have in one of my OUs. And you can see here that I actually, when I log into the portal, I have different permission sets available to me. I can log into this administrator account with administrator access, or I can log into this account as a service catalog and user access, which would allow me to launch the account factory. So anyway, let's run through the demo. We'll get it started, and I'll walk you through what's going on as we go. In this case, I'm logging into my management account with administrator access. I'm going to the CloudFormation. Let me pause it really quickly. We're going to the CloudFormation console and launching a stack, which is our customization stack solution here. I'm uploading the template. Giving the stack a name. And setting code commit as the source. I am hitting the acknowledge button for IAM role creation, and now the stack creation is in progress. You see that it got started. And now we see that the stack is complete. The next step is to go to our code commit console. Now we created a new code commit repo. We're going to copy the URL for the repo. And now we're going to go to our IDE, which is Cloud9, and basically do a clone of the repo. Oh, sorry, let me pause right here. So what we're doing here is we're modifying the manifest file that was default in the repo. And I'm copying and pasting in basically the new rules that I want to do. We're going to take a look at this right now. So the first rule is we're going to add a preventative guardrail at the top. And you can see that it says the deployment method is SCP. So this is a preventative guardrail that we're going to deploy into AWS organizations. And we're going to attach it to all accounts in OU1. So that's the deployment target here. The next rule that we're going to do is an IAM role, and this is going to create a stack set, CloudFormation stack set, and it's going to bind again to OU1. So any accounts in OU1 this stack set would run against those accounts, and an IAM role would be created. And the third one here is an AWS config rule. And we're going to be looking for access keys that haven't been rotated greater than 24 days, right? And again, this is basically binding to all accounts in OU1. So when you think through what this manifest file is doing is you're creating basically templates that can be deployed. Say accounts in OU2, for instance, might have these IAM roles that are required, and accounts in OU1 would have these IAM roles. And so you can get deep customizations and deploy it in your, again, integrated into your CI/CD pipeline. Saving the manifest file here. Now we're committing the changes to Git, and now we're going to go. Then we're going to go in and push them. Now we can see our code pipeline console and watch the progress of this code as it goes through it. So now everything has been deployed. And now we are going to take a look at what got deployed here. So we're going to open the organizations console. We're going to go to our policies. We're going to go to service control policies. And this is the new guardrail that we deployed. And you can see that it's bound to the OU1 target. And it currently has this one account in there. We're also going to go to the IAM console, and now we're going to assume a role into this account that we created that has already been created. We're going to assume a role and jump to that account so that we can see the new policy that's been created in that account. And so this is the new account the new role that was created in that account because it was an OU1, and it's based on the stack set name and a randomization because in the template I never gave it an actual role name that was specific. So every time you run it, it would have a slightly different name, but that can be customized. And this is basically the role, and this is just a really a quick example of what can be done here in terms of managing roles across your accounts. And now we'll take a look at the config rule that was created as well. So again, we're in the linked account, and this is the new config rule that was created, and it's specific to accounts in this OU. So that is pretty much the demo. Do we have any questions right now, Rob?
Hey, Ron, thanks. So no questions from the audience right now, but I did have a question for you. So obviously you showed kind of, a great starting point on customizing, but are there some customization beyond this point that you'd kind of recommend we take a look into?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a whole set of labs that are available to take a look at, and we'll post the links to that later. But basically from there, you can actually think about integrating with different IDP providers, transit gateway, security hub. And so any of the services that are common to a lot of our customers' use cases, we provided kind of labs for how to get started with those.
Great, thanks. And we just have a question that just came in from JibJab06. JibJab06 says, can this be deployed with Terraform?
Absolutely. There is a customization solution for Terraform as well that integrates with Control Tower. So that can actually be deployed. So again, we're fully supporting Terraform at this point. And so if you use Terraform to manage your infrastructure today, we can help you with that.
Great. Yep. And I just found a link for that. So I'll actually share that in the chat here to give you some insights into more details if you're looking forward to Dev 06. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to you, Ron, to continue through what you have left.
Great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Ram. So, we did have a question asked about integrations with AWS organizations, and there are a healthy number of ways to extend Control Tower using AWS organizations. So the features that organizations gives you and the integrations it has, for example, with like Trusted Advisor, tag policies, this is a very, very important one, right? As you're trying to manage your costs and have cost attribution and have like solid tag policies. All of these integrations that exist with organizations you can extend with Control Tower. So it's not an either or situation. You can actually take advantage of all the benefits of organizations that gives you. One call out here that we've been helping customers with quite a bit, I would say, tag policies. So this is like enforcing naming conventions for your tag keys and values, and this really can prevent drift, and it lets you standardize on important tag governance. Tags are, I think, a really, really important way to have not only cost visibility, right? Having cost centers and business units like very clearly to see what you're spending on things, but also for security concerns like attribute-based access, right? So tags are very important. To call out, I'd like to mention that's been helping a lot of customers there. So yeah, really, you get the best of both worlds by combining Control Tower and the extensibility of organizations. It's a very fundamental integration. And yeah, let us jump into like some of the other key considerations, right? Like pricing, right? And it's available in these 15 regions here, and we're always adding more regions for availability, right? There's no additional charge for using Control Tower, right? It's providing a lot of value for no extra charge. You pay only for the underlying AWS services like your CloudTrail trails or your config rules, right? So there's tons of benefits here, and you're not paying extra surcharges for this. So you can also govern resources in regions that aren't available today outside of Control Tower. So as we're expanding availability, right, that's no problem. Yeah. So your primary region and secondary regions are can be, or multiple regions can be available in this list here. So that's a quick blurb here on pricing and availability. What is really important is this next. We have a lot of resources. Ram mentioned our workshops, and these are really labs that you can get the drift of like what is capable in Control Tower, and they're really, really easy to get started in, I'd say. There's also a quick start guide, right? Yeah, user guide getting started here, and something else called activation days. So reach out to your account team, right? If you have like hundreds of AWS accounts in an existing environment you want to work with, and something like this. So activation days can be great. So there's also, of course, blogs, and our YouTube channel is active for management and governance. So like, just on the new releases for data residency, guardrails, right? I was mentioning before, there's videos on how to quickly enable those, really short, 5-minute videos there. So let me pause there and see if we have any questions at this point.
Hey, yes, we did just have one that came in, so thanks for the how to get started, so people can go take a look and see how they can get going on things. But question that came in from ThinkTool: how can I use Control Tower across regions?
That's a great question. So when you can, in the Control Tower Management Console, you can select which regions are governed, and based on Control Tower is not yet available in all regions. It's because of the dependency on underlying services. As those underlying services are available in those regions, and we'll can offer Control Tower in those regions. But for the regions that we do offer manageability in, we can actually select which regions are governed, right? So you can say, I want Control Tower to manage all infrastructure in, say, US East 1 and US West 2 and also Northern Ireland, but I don't want it to manage anything in these other regions, right? And so you can actually, depending on how your policies are set up, you can actually shut off AWS in those regions as well. Use service control policies that don't allow any activity in regions that are not governed, for instance, right? And so that's a powerful tool to make sure that everything is governed, but you're not incurring extra costs for like CloudTrail in regions that you're not actually using, and things like that.
Just to call out there, make sure if you are going to deny region access in other regions, make sure you don't have resources already running in those regions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Probably an important little point there. That's a good call.
Right. Yeah.
Great. All right. Is there anything else that you all would like to share today?
Aiden, do you have anything right now?
No, Ram. I think if you do have anything, go for it, though.
Great.
No, I want to like, when you're thinking about, again, the parting message for me really is that if you have a multi-account strategy, or you have a lot of AWS accounts, you have a lot of different IAM users, you have a lot of different roles, Control Tower is a great way to kind of get all of that under control and make sure that things are, you instead of having an IAM user for each person, 10 different accounts, you're actually able to have federated access, right? So that's really the parting thought. Is it's a great starting point as a platform to kind of accelerate your management and governance with AWS.
I have one to piggyback onto Ram here, if you don't mind. And you mentioned it before, and when you start off using AWS, just experimenting, right? Even as a single developer, and in those early days, you may have. I want to hammer home that Control Tower is still strongly recommended, even if you have a very low account number, and it sets you up for much easier pathways to like proper governance, really. So it saves a ton of time, and it's a mature service that's been generally available for 3 years, and new features added all the time. So strongly recommend, even on small environments.
There's actually one point I actually wanted to make as well, which didn't come up yet, but a lot of our customers have concerns that, I have an existing workload running. What will happen if I install Control Tower in my existing environment? So we do support existing environments. And again, when you look at what the guardrails are, the ones that would actually have any consequence of preventative actions are only around the new resources created by Control Tower. So by deploying Control Tower into your existing account today that maybe has a workload running, wouldn't actually stop the workload from running or cause any issues for you operationally. It is supported. It's having a workload in the management account isn't considered our best practice, but we do support it, and we would never take any action that would actually stop that workload from functioning as it's deployed today.
Great. Thanks for that additional bit of information and little key points, because that is important, right? Especially when adding into an existing workload.
Absolutely. That's one of the barriers for adoption, right? Is I already have things running. How do I work with it now? And I don't have a brand new environment.
Makes sense. All right. Well, thank you both so much for the information. And everyone, today we looked at Control Tower and how to automate governance and integrate into some of your CI/CD pipelines. If there are any questions that we didn't actually see in the chat today, I think we got to all of them. If anything comes up afterwards, though, please feel free to post those questions on repost.aws, where one of our experts can provide you with an answer to your question, and it might even become a topic of one of our future shows. So if you have any feedback, please check the chat box for the survey that was posted. I'll post it again here. And you can also send us an email at awssupportsyou@amazon.com because we'd love to hear from you and tell us what else you'd like to see on the show. Um, so please join us next Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we'll be diving deep into the enterprise support entitlements. And thank you for joining us at AWS Supports You, and happy cloud computing.